Economic growth. For economic history of China, see Economic history of China before 1912, Economic history of China 1912-1949, and Economic history of China 1949 present. China's nominal GDP trend from 1952 to 2015. From its founding in 1949 until late 1978, the People's Republic of China was a Soviet-style centrally planned economy. Following Mao's death in 1976 and the consequent end of the Cultural Revolution, Deng Xiaoping and the new Chinese leadership began to reform the economy and move towards a more market-oriented mixed economy under one-party rule. Agricultural collectivization was dismantled and farmlands privatized, while foreign trade became a major new focus, leading to the creation of special economic zones, (SEZ). Inefficient state-owned enterprises, SOEs, were restructured and unprofitable ones were closed outright, resulting in massive job losses. Citation needed. Modern-day China is mainly characterized as having a market economy based on private property ownership and is one of the leading examples of state capitalism. The state still dominates in strategic pillar sectors such as energy production and heavy industries, but private enterprise has expanded enormously, with around 30 million private businesses recorded in 2008. In 2018, private enterprises in China accounted for 60% of GDP, 80% of urban employment and 90% of new jobs. In the early 2010s, China's economic growth rate began to slow amid domestic credit troubles, weakening international demand for Chinese exports and fragility in the global economy. China's GDP was slightly larger than Germany's in 2007, however, by 2017, China's $12.2 trillion economy became larger than those of Germany, UK, France and Italy combined. In 2018, the IMF reiterated its forecast that China will overtake the US in terms of nominal GDP by 2030. Economists also expect China's middle class to expand to 600 million people by 2025. In 2020, China was the only major economy in the world to grow, recording a 2.3% growth due to its success in taming the coronavirus within its borders. China in the global economy share of world GDP, PPP, year share 1982.32%, 1994.11%, 2007.40%, 2010 13.89%, 2018 18.72%. China is a member of the WTO and is the world's largest trading power, with a total international trade value of US $4.62 trillion in 2018. Its foreign exchange reserves reached US $3.1 trillion as of 2019, making its reserves by far the world's largest. In 2012, China was the world's largest recipient of inward foreign direct investment, FDI, attracting $253 billion. In 2014, China's foreign exchange remittances were US $64 billion, making it the second largest recipient of remittances in the world. China also invests abroad, with a total outward FDI of $62.4 billion in 2012, and a number of major takeovers of foreign firms by Chinese companies. China is a major owner of U.S. public debt, holding trillions of dollars worth of U.S. Treasury bonds. China's undervalued exchange rate has caused friction with other major economies, and it has also been widely criticized for manufacturing large quantities of counterfeit goods. Largest economies by nominal GDP in 2018. Following the 2007-08 financial crisis, Chinese authorities sought to actively wean off of its dependence on the US dollar as a result of perceived weaknesses of the international monetary system. To achieve those ends, China took a series of actions to further the internationalization of the renminbi. In 2008, China established dim sum bond market and expanded the cross-border trade RMB settlement pilot project, which helps establish pools of offshore RMB liquidity. This was followed with bilateral agreements to settle trades directly in renminbi with Russia, Japan, Australia, Singapore, the United Kingdom, and Canada. As a result of the rapid internationalization of the renminbi, it became the eighth most traded currency in the world, an emerging international reserve currency, and a component of the IMF's special drawing rights. However, partly due to capital controls that make the renminbi fall short of being a fully convertible currency, it remains far behind the euro, dollar and Japanese yen in international trade volumes. Class and income inequality. Income inequality in China. China has had the world's largest middle-class population since 2015, and the middle class grew to a size of 400 million by 2018. In 2020, a study by the Brookings Institution forecast that China's middle class will reach 1.2 billion by 2027, almost 4 times the entire U.S. population today, making up 1/4 of the world total. Wages in China have grown a lot in the last 40 years. Real inflation adjusted wages grew 7-fold from 1978 to 2007. By 2018, median wages in Chinese cities such as Shanghai were about the same as or higher than the wages in Eastern European countries. China has the world's highest number of billionaires, with nearly 878 as of October 2020, increasing at the rate of roughly 5 per week. China has a high level of economic inequality, which has increased in the past few decades. In 2018, China's Gini coefficient was 0.467, according to the World Bank. Science and technology. Science and technology in China. Chinese space program. List of Chinese discoveries. List of Chinese inventions. And history of science and technology in China. Earliest known written formula for gunpowder. From the Wuzhongzhongyao of 1044 CE. China was a world leader in science and technology until the Ming Dynasty. Ancient Chinese discoveries and inventions, such as paper making, printing, the compass, and gunpowder, the 4 great inventions, became widespread across East Asia, the Middle East, and later Europe. Chinese mathematicians were the first to use negative numbers. By the 17th century, the Western Hemisphere surpassed China in scientific and technological advancement. The causes of this early modern great divergence continue to be debated by scholars. After repeated military defeats by the European colonial powers and Japan in the 19th century, Chinese reformers began promoting modern science and technology as part of the self-strengthening movement. After the Communists came to power in 1949, efforts were made to organize science and technology based on the model of the Soviet Union, in which scientific research was part of central planning. After Mao's death in 1976, science and technology was promoted as one of the 4 modernizations, and the Soviet-inspired academic system was gradually reformed. Modern era UE headquarters in Shenzhen. UE is the world's largest telecoms equipment maker and the 2nd largest manufacturer of smartphones in the world. Since the end of the Cultural Revolution, China has made significant investments in scientific research and is quickly catching up with the U.S. in R&D spending. In 2017, China spent $279 billion on scientific research and development. According to the OECD, China spent 2.11% of its GDP on research and development (R&D) in 2016. Science and technology are seen as vital for achieving China's economic and political goals, and are held as a source of national pride to a degree sometimes described as techno-nationalism. According to the World Intellectual Property Indicators, China received 1.54 million patent applications in 2018, representing nearly half of patent applications worldwide, more than double the U.S. In 2019, China was No. 1 in international patents application. China was ranked 12th, 3rd in Asia and Oceania region, and 2nd for countries with a population of over 100 million in the Global Innovation Index. In 2021, it has increased its ranking considerably since 2013, where it was ranked 35th. China ranks first globally in the important indicators, including patents, utility models, trademarks, industrial designs, and creative goods exports, and it also has 2, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, and Beijing, in the 2nd and 3rd spots respectively of the global top 5 science and technology clusters, which is more than any other country. Chinese tech companies UE and ZTE were the top 2 filers of international patents in 2017. Chinese-born academicians have won the Nobel Prize in Physics 4 times, the Nobel Prize in Chemistry, Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine and Fields Medal once respectively, though most of them conducted their prize-winning research in Western nations. Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, one of the first Chinese spaceports. China is developing its education system with an emphasis on science, technology, engineering and mathematics, STEM. In 2009, China graduated over 10,000 PhD engineers and as many as 500,000 VSc graduates, more than any other country. China also became the world's largest publisher of scientific papers in 2016. Chinese technology companies such as Huawei and Lenovo have become world leaders in telecommunications and personal computing, and Chinese supercomputers are consistently ranked among the world's most powerful. China has been the world's largest market for industrial robots since 2013 and will account for 45% of newly installed robots from 2019 to 2021. The Chinese space program is one of the world's most active. In 1970, China launched its first satellite, Dongfeng-1, becoming the fifth country to do so independently. In 2003, China became the third country to independently send humans into space, with Yang Liu's spaceflight aboard Chenzhou 5. As of 2021, 13 Chinese nationals have journeyed into space, including 2 women. In 2011, China's first space station module, Tiangong-1, was launched, marking the first step in a project to assemble a large, crewed station by the early 2020s. In 2013, China successfully landed the Change 3 lander and U-2 rover onto the lunar surface. In 2016, the first quantum science satellite was launched in partnership with Austria, dedicated to testing the fundamentals of quantum communication in space. In 2019, China became the first country to land a probe Change 4 on the far side of the moon. In 2020, the first experimental 6G test satellite was launched and Change 5 successfully returned moon samples to the Earth, making China the third country to do so independently after the United States and the Soviet Union. In 2021, China became the second nation in history to independently land a rover, Zhurong, on Mars, joining the United States.